everyone. Janine here from the Book Publishing Academy. Welcome to another episode of the Book Publishing Academy podcast. Today we have the amazing Heather Hiscox, who is an amazing author here in Arizona who wrote No More Status Quo. We have her today, and I can't wait to dive in with her more about her book. Welcome, Heather. How are you?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm good. I'm good. It's a busy time of year. I'm so happy to share time with you today. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so Heather and I, we met through maybe a mutual friend.
Yes,
Probably.
yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and we got to work on her audiobook, which came out amazing, by the way.
Thank you.
So that's how we got connected. But I'm just excited to have her on the podcast so she could share more about the book. So Heather, first, let's dive in. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, yeah. I like to call myself a frustrated change maker. That really summarizes who I am and what I'm here to really influence in the world. I have worked in the social sector for years and years and years. And I've just always been the person to ask, why do we do it this way? Is this actually creating social impact? Are we actually helping people? Are we co-creating, co-designing solutions? And so that's all my work has been focused on that, especially over the past, 10 plus years, is really stepping out from the sector and holding the sector accountable and calling it out and offering new ways to work to really support nonprofit folks, folks in philanthropy, and even those individuals that work in local government, because I really see them as that triad of local social change, which is where a lot of change is. It is really local in our own communities.
I love it because you sound just like me, where it's like, oh no, we're gonna say something. Oh no, how is this impacting? How is this gonna help us further ourselves along? We need people like that because
Yes,
if
oh,
not, then
absolutely.
it remains status quo.
Yes, exactly. No more of that. Exactly.
Really? So, what inspired you to write No More Status Quo, and what is the core message you hope readers will take away from it?
You know what? It was living under my skin for so many years. I just was so compelled to get it out, and I was able to write the book in just 3 weeks. So that kind of shows you how present it was for me. I just needed to get it out. I wanted to, my goals are really to share what I think is messed up and how I think we got to those different stages and areas. And then I wanted to show people the framework, the pause framework that I created and used with so many clients all across the country to really create transformative results. I wanted to make it accessible to anyone. So if an organization wasn't ready, a team didn't have budget, people couldn't, hang out with me, they could read the book and have a step-by-step guide. And then what I really love is I got to interweave tons of stories and examples to show what this transformation looks like in real life, so that people would have the confidence to know that they also could take these simple steps to really see tremendous change in their organization and their work. So that's really what's my goal, is to connect with other frustrated people like me and to show them that there's a better and different way to work.
I love it. Love,
Yeah.
love, love it. Can you share a moment or a story from the book that has the biggest impact on your own perspective? Like one of those stories.
Yeah, it really, I don't know if it's a story, but I would say it's really the chapter that I focus on is on positionality. I used Dr. Leslie Ann Noel's Wheel of Positionality, and it was something as an author that I wasn't sure if I should put in the book, but I really stepped through each of the different areas. And so, what the elements of positionality are is, where you grew up, the level of income that you had, your level of education, your parental status, the languages you speak, all those different elements. And what I have found core to the work is that we don't spend enough time really thinking about and honoring and acknowledging how we see the world is literally only how we see the world,
Mm.
and that the power of working in new ways and the power of change is empathy and connecting with others that are similar and very different. And really understanding that we make so many assumptions in our work based on our own positionality, how we grew up, how our family was structured, the foods we enjoy, the neighborhoods we were raised in, where we currently live. And so I spent time really going through my background so that people could understand this is the lens with which I see the world. This is my professional and personal experience that I bring to the work. And I've heard so many people, so many of my teams that I have go through their own wheels and share with others, say that that was so transformative to really see the superpowers of some of their colleagues that they didn't even recognize, to see areas of alignment and difference, and really see it as their superpower, to show that they could get to that more empathetic space. They could get to that more inclusive space where they could see, the power of those different dynamics coming together. So I think that's one part that really stands out to me.
That is so good though. When you think about it, it's so good because if you're especially if you're working in a team or in an organization and people are from different upbringings, you can have more empathy for the way that they respond to certain things or some of the ideas that they bring forth based on a lot of that culture, environment,
Absolutely.
any and
Absolutely.
all of it.
Yeah,
That's,
it's really reframing that all of us show up with assets and abilities and abundance, and all of it's worthy and valuable. And it starts to just shift the dynamic, like you said, of how teams interact and how people really see each other in new ways. It's really special.
yeah. What do you think are the biggest challenges organizations face when they're trying to move beyond the status quo?
A lot of it's power dynamics. A lot of the hierarchical structures in the social sector, especially between nonprofit and philanthropy, can be really problematic, right? Of like, we have the money, you want the money, you have to do what we say, you have to play along, you have to perform, you have to apply in these really rigid ways. Not a lot of empathy there in those connections of nonprofit folks understanding philanthropy and vice versa. So power dynamics are huge. And even within organizations, a lot of the power dynamics are, we are the nonprofit, we are the staff, we have the intervention, you are the community. You must take our intervention and change your behavior and show us results and report back to us, because we have to get those numbers back to the dollar people, the philanthropists, right? So we can keep the cycle going. But it's not asking those bigger and more essential questions around systems, structures, context, all the things we I think, with the power dynamic, but also we try to oversimplify. We try to think, I'll give you $50,000 in 1 year and you're going to work on hunger. It's like, what's, oh, no, I get it. I get that you want to do a grant, you have this mechanism, but we're not getting to the larger conversation of the ecosystem that our communities are really in. And what does it mean to have food, and what are all those elements around capitalism and structural racism and institutional barriers and all the things. So I find that organizations, they want to do some of the work, but they don't really want to pull open and peel back all those different layers. But what I have found in working with teams and using the framework is we get to the root. We get to the core by asking different questions and working differently. So it starts to shift those power dynamics. It starts to bubble up learning from those stakeholders. We start to talk to folks inside and outside the organization to understand how they experience the challenge, and they get to co-design and co-create solutions. So it's not just in a silo with this power and position of, we created this for you, you better use it or we'll blame you for not engaging. No, that's awful. Instead, it's like, who are you? What are the biggest challenges? How can you help us co-design solutions? And how can you really benefit? And how can we learn from and with you? So that, I think that's one of the biggest ones that I have to really tackle in the sector.
Ooh, that must be a hard one too. Because I think that even in just like not nonprofit, but like in a for-profit, like it's the same thing. The power and control dynamic, the
Yeah,
politics. It's a lot.
absolutely. What I can say with confidence, which I love, is that I've never lost anyone along the way. And all these years I've done this work, I could have in a team someone that just joined 6 months ago, right? They're the new person, they're full of ideas, they're full of questions, and why don't we do it this way? And what about this? And excited to be there. And they could be sitting right next to someone that's worked there for 28 years, right? And they're the person that's like, this is the way we've always done it. We tried that 5 years ago. Nobody did it, liked it. I can unite those people in a different way on a team. And I've never lost either one of those folks along the way, which is great. And the team cohesion comes together. And I also have never had a leader ever reject what the team has learned and suggested to implement, because usually the leaders have not interviewed 40 different stakeholders. They haven't tested the key assumptions of 5 different potential solutions. They have nothing really to stand on, and they're usually extremely grateful and respectful for the team's hard work and for that learning. And usually they're like, okay, well, let's do that. Wow,
Yeah.
you have everything to back it up. Let's go. Like, what type of resources? And then they started getting into different conversations, but it's a kind of sneaky way to break through and get in and start to disrupt those control and power channels. Yeah.
I love that because you just answered my next question. How does the No More Status Quo book address the balance between tradition and progress, like actually moving forward?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I love that question, and it's so connected to the book, but also, with the book being here's what's messed up and here's how we can do better. In the online talk show and podcast that I host called Possibility Project, that's what we talk about. We pick topics that are within the social sector, big questions, big, bold issues and challenges we have to address. And the first part of the first prompt is always, what's dysfunctional related to this topic that we want to disappear? So it's like the soapbox rant moment. And then the second question is, what's emerging that gives you hope? What are
mm,
you learning about, thinking about, dreaming of, wanting to explore around hopefulness, and what are possibilities and what can we do? So we pair the two, because I feel like it's really key to throw everything onto the table, sort through it, look at it, have that reality check, and then say, all right, all of these things, some of them that we're frustrated by, some of these policies, programs, practices didn't come from some magical land. Like, humans created them.
yep.
Humans can reimagine and recreate them. They really can. So that's where we get to shift a possibility. That's where we get to pause and work differently. So it's really in that full alignment of like what's bad and what's possible.
I love it. So
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about like what unexpected lessons did you encounter while writing the book?
Oh, when I wrote the book, I was really thinking holistically. So I was thinking, okay, there's the book, and then there's my slide decks of my workshop content and flow. There's other resources that I want attached to the book and to the work. And so I worked with a learning designer, Hillary Sadovic. She used to be with Creative Reaction Lab, and their work is deeply rooted in equity. And she is really, what she did was she helped me look at every slide and every element from an ableist perspective, a diversity, an anti-racist perspective, just really thinking about the language, the structure, the physical and visual design of the slides, the colors, the backgrounds, all of those things really holistically. And while I was working with her, I was also working on the book. I was working on some of the later revisions, into the editing process. And it was fantastic because I was able to take what might have appeared on slide 38 and say, oh yeah, I don't really like that language. I don't want to say blind spot. I want to use more inclusive language. I want to change some of the ways that I'm approaching this. I was able to still in the editing phase incorporate all of that into the book. So what was unexpected and so beautiful about that process is I felt even more aligned with what I was saying. I felt deeper in my integrity. I felt more connected to what my core values are. And so that was one big thing that popped up. And another thing that I'll mention is, sometimes when I first started writing the book, I would kind of wander off a bit. I would sort of lose my way, like a lot of authors do, I'm sure. And I had an early reader read the book, and she said, you seem really angry. And it was the early part. I was like my rant part. And I thought, oh, well, okay, I am. I'm glad that came through, but that's interesting to me because I really am about love. I'm really about care. I'm really about deeply falling in love with my clients, with community, with the work, with my collective of other change makers. And so it helped me reframe the position in which the book came, and the rest of it flowed from. And so I was able to yes, have the anger so the reader can understand, like, oh, I am pissed and you
Yeah.
should be pissed too. And like, we can be pissed together. Yes. And it can be any form of anger. And I was able to infuse it with touches of love and really help that motivate the rest of the book. That's all about solution and about new ways of working. And I find that that technique has really helped root me in all of my other creation activities moving forward. So when I have a workshop, when I have a new speaking opportunity, and I'm not quite sure what the direction I want to take or the way I might want to tweak my existing content, I try to root in love and I say, okay, I love the audience. I love the work they're trying to do. I love their hope and their frustration. Now, what do I want to say? Now, what do I want to shape and construct for an experience? And it's helped me get unstuck every time.
I love it. And it sounds like by leading with love, it helps you along the process. How do you stay motivated to do the work that you do?
It's
It
hard.
doesn't sound easy.
Yeah, yeah. I think, because my framework is the pause framework. I really try to live that. I really try to take moments of pause. And I try to extend grace. I try to root myself in what practicing what I preach. If I'm getting frustrated, if I'm not understanding why a change maker or a leader won't move in our direction, I really try to root in that love and empathy and try to say, okay, I know my perspective. I know why I'm frustrated. There is a reason why they're either my projection, right, that they're not understanding or not wanting this. There's something I need to understand.
Yep.
So I try to take a break and reroute in empathy. I try to reroute in assumptions. I try to really run little experiments that I teach people to test themselves. And I try to say, okay, I could try this approach as I'm coaching this team or influencing this leader. Let me take a minute and let's see, because I could be making an assumption. So let me try this and test their behavior, and I can really make an actual evidence-informed decision. I'm not just running around making assumptions. So that I have found really helpful. And taking rest. We don't have to deserve rest. We don't have to earn rest. We take rest. So I've definitely gotten better with that I can take a rest. Nothing's going to fall apart. Things are still going to be there. Things are still going to progress. But I need that rest to come back and be my best to support my teams.
Yeah, because then you avoid burnout. You know what I mean?
Oh, yes. Oh,
Nobody
yeah.
wants to get burnt out.
No, I have been there. I know what it feels like. I know the warning signs. I try to avoid that. Yes.
Yeah. So we had the pleasure of working on your audiobook.
Yes.
Share
Yes.
a little more about that experience of going through the process of recording it and hearing your voice and seeing it published. How was that for you?
Oh, it was great. It was fantastic to work with you and your team. It really, I wanted to do it. I really wanted to. I got delayed from my original timeline, but I'm glad that I took more time. What I wasn't expecting, but was simple to address was in the text, and thank goodness for like word search you can use in your copy. I would say things like look below. Or like on the next page, or things that you reference in a book. Obviously, you can't say in audiobooks. So some of the nitty-gritty was kind of funny to catch and to tweak. Um, I was determined, and this is a little bit cuckoo, but I was determined to record it in one weekend.
I know, I remember.
People had warned me. They're like, your voice is going to give out. It's exhausting. Oh my gosh, like space it out. But, having kids in the house, having a partner in the house, dogs, neighbors, I knew that I was going to have a window where I just needed to get it done. So I literally sat in my closet with my son's thick comforter connected to the door of my closet to make it a bit more soundproof, with like an Afghan blanket over some cardboard boxes that were like delicately balancing my microphone and laptop. It was hilarious. I took a photo of it and I shared it on LinkedIn because it was just so funny. People think this is so glamorous, right? Like they must imagine I was in some like high powered recording studio, but no, I'm surrounded by like smelly shoes and laundry. But it was really fun. I got to add the inflection that I wanted to. I got to push the love through my voice, push the power and my emphasis through my voice, which was great. And then the editing, I kind of think of your team as like the wizardry that happened behind it. Like I sent it off, I sent the files, we figured it out, we did some of those edits, and that part felt really seamless. And so that was great just to be able to use that technology to weave all of the audio files and get everything smoothly transitioned with all of the requirements. And yeah, it was a great experience. And what I would say to people, and you said to me and others have reinforced, so many people are listening
Hmm.
to books these days. They don't have time to read, but they have long commutes or they take a walk and they listen to things. And so it was a whole other revenue stream that opened up, and fun, and really a fun project to do in another way that I could offer the book to people.
I love it. You're better than me because I did one audiobook and I was like, never again. Because
Oh,
now, like you do get tired and your diaphragm, your stomach, like you're talking all day, your voice. So
oh.
next time, I think I'll just hire you as my voiceover.
I don't know if I'm ready for that.
But yeah, I do remember you sent me the picture of you in the closet, and I was like, "Yep, that's how." It reminds me of like, is it Tom from Facebook when he first got started with Facebook? That one original photo, and it's like, it's not pretty at the beginning when we're doing it. We're not in a
No,
studio. It doesn't have shining lights. It's just us in the closet.
exactly. Getting it done. Yeah.
Yeah. So, what would you say is the next step for you? Like, what would you like to do with the books? Do you see yourself doing more speaking engagements, maybe a book tour? What is your vision?
Yeah, I definitely want to do more speaking. It's this, and some people have heard the story, but the day before my book launched, my partner was diagnosed with bone cancer.
Hmm.
And I had all this work in late 2022, planning everything, the book tour, the different cities I'd be going to, the different organizations I'd be partnering with to host events. All of it was canceled. I did manage to do a speaking engagement by the end of 2023 in October. I got to keynote a conference and do some workshops and do some other work, and that was fantastic. That was really life-giving. And then got to do, more this year. So I do want to continue that. I want to be strategic about, what are some of those conferences I really want to be at, because travel is a little more complex these days. What virtual opportunities are there? What additional podcasts and other outreach can I do? So it wasn't the ideal for what any author would dream of or want for their planning, but it's helped me really resituate and reprioritize of, okay, who are my people? What's the message of the book? How can I continue to get it out there? Books have lasting impressions and lasting power. And so I have to remember that I'm not operating in scarcity. It's not, this timing evaporates and then it's gone.
Yeah.
It doesn't go poof, right? I have to remember that and reroute myself. So, I was talking to a friend, and normally at the end of every year, I would be, doing those journaling activities and I'd be visioning for 2025. And the last 2 years have taught me that anything can happen and anything is possible. So I haven't quite jumped in with enthusiasm to tackle that for 2025, but I know it has felt really nourishing and what are my priorities for the next year. So I want to focus more on that.
Well, and you're a prime example that like you can pick up where you left off. Like literally you had to drop everything and focus on something else for about a year and a half, 2 years, but then you picked it up right where it left off. Nothing happened with the book. You're still able to sell it. You're able, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Oh,
So,
yeah. Yeah.
and it's the same for in 10 years. And you could write another book and put this one to the side and in 10 years pick it back up and it's still going to be the same, you know?
Exactly. Exactly. So that's been great just to know that it's okay. It's okay. I don't have to add that stress, and we'll make it work.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What advice would you give listeners who feel stuck or hesitant about taking bold steps in their own lives?
Oh gosh, I have gone through hard things. Obviously, my partner's cancer was a hard thing. I've gone through other hard things. And what I've really treasured is that because I've done hard things, I know that you climb that hill and it's awful and it's hard and it's exhausting and you just don't know what's on the other side. But I've done it enough that I trust that there is something better.
Yeah.
There's more. There's something new and different beyond my wildest imagination, my wildest dreams. And then what's great is you cross many of those peaks and valleys and you look back and you look at yourself, maybe where you were 10, 20 years ago. And for me, it's a miracle when I think about, I used to be someone with horrible social anxiety. I can remember in college and grad school, just my voice shaking as I raised my hand with something to say and something to share and something to ask, and just feeling so uncomfortable. And now I'm speaking on stage with thousands of people and I love it. Like, I'm excited. Of course, I get like natural human butterflies, but it's astounding and miraculous to me to think about that woman, that girl years ago that was just terrified and just couldn't function in those ways. And to know that I've totally transformed myself. So then when I look to other hard things into the future, I know that there's such growth opportunities in that fear, in the difficulty, in the push. It's there's something on the other side. So I have faith that I can continue to do hard things, and you can too. Anyone can, right? It's just that courage to step out of comfort, walk through fear, get to that learning, and then reach that growth. It's there for all of us.
One of the quotes that I love the most is feel the fear and then do it anyways. And it's like, it's so true. It's
Absolutely.
like we all have fear.
Absolutely.
Just do it anyways. And you're gonna feel amazing after you do it. So
Yeah, I have a quote, a little sticky note behind my screen. It says, "Fear is a destiny, dream, and opportunity killer." So I think about that. Like, yes, you're scared and there's more and you want more. So let's go. And when people tell me no, I'm like, okay, no. I say no to your no. Let's go.
yes.
Let's make it happen. And that's also proved to be true time and time again, that if I just kept going, it was for a purpose, it was for a reason. I was meant to go there.
Yep. I love that. That's a good quote too. You're gonna have to send me that one.
Okay, I will. I will.
So what's next for you? Where can our listeners and viewers reach out to you if they're interested, and where can they stay up to date on like what's next with you and any new, speaking opportunities that you might have?
Yeah, I mean, the best way to keep in touch and keep track is going to my website. You can sign up for my newsletter. So the website is pause, PAUSE, change.com. You can sign up for the newsletter. I'm always providing updates about everything that I'm up to, everything that I'm learning with my clients. It always applies to other people, so I make sure that I get that out there. So that's a great way to stay involved. And then I'm about to start season 6 of the online talk show and a podcast. You can find more about that at possibilityproject.org. It's a monthly conversation series, so people can sign up for that newsletter as well to be invited to any of those episodes. But all of the recordings, there's been 53 episodes, are all on YouTube and available on any of your favorite podcast app. So that's really, I'm focused on that for 2025 of continuing to season 6. I have amazing topics and amazing speakers. I've had over 120 guests because we do panels of awesome conversations. So that's going to continue in 2025. Yeah, continue to speak and do outreach and to provide additional resources. The book is full of nuggets and such gold, right? Of such micro learning moments that I really want to put those out there to reinforce elements of the book in total, but give people like sticking points that they might find themselves in and strategies to get unstuck. That's really what I'm focusing a lot of my speaking engagements on for 2025. What are the major pitfalls that are holding us back, and how do we get unstuck? So that's what I'm excited about.
I can't wait to listen in to your podcast and learn more about getting unstuck because that's actually one of the things that's one of my goals for next year. I felt that I was a little bit in a status quo because I had a lot of personal stuff happen, but is
Yeah.
getting unstuck because it's time to move forward. So I'm
Yes.
definitely going to be tuning in.
Great. Good, good, good. Yes, you can do it.
Yep. Well, I want to thank you so much again for joining us on the podcast. We truly, truly appreciate you. Are you on LinkedIn or any other social platforms?
Yes, find me on LinkedIn. You'll find me on Heather Hiscox. Just check it out on LinkedIn. That's really where I'm most active. That's where my people usually are. So come in and join. And Possibility Project has its own LinkedIn group with almost 900 members. So get involved with that as well.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And guys, if you are listening or viewing, make sure that you share with your friends, leave a comment, all of that good stuff. Leave us a good rating, and we will see you on the next episode of the Book Publishing Academy podcast. Thank you so much.